We're going to give you a couple minutes to scroll in here. We got a big group we're expecting today.
Full house. Welcome, welcome. Nice to meet everybody. Those of you new faces. I'm sure there's our fans here too.
Yep, I recognize some names.
Yeah, but thanks for showing up. I mean, it's a really important topic. I mean, something that we love coaching on, educating on. Obviously, an additional layer of challenges, I think, with an already challenging process at baseline. But I also think some great opportunities, right? I mean, something that we always talk about internally. Each of these challenges present a bunch of opportunities as well. So my hope is here, and I think the goal is here, is that everybody's going to leave an hour from now feeling better and a little bit more relaxed, hopefully a little bit less stressed than maybe is going on currently day to day here. So at least if we do our jobs, that'll be the case. I guess just some quick housekeeping stuff for those of you that are joining us for the first time. We love questions, right? Especially nights like tonight, right, where it's the subject matter I'm sure is hits close to home, right, and you have your own situation that's going on currently. This is the place to have your questions answered. Like, this is the source of truth. So please ask any and all questions, but we just ask that you put those in the Q&A as opposed to the chat. That way everybody benefits from them. They're all transcribed. So for your buddies that couldn't make it tonight, they're going to get the follow-up that again, in addition to this recording and the slide deck, they can see the Q&A. But again, please put them in there as opposed to the chat, and you can remain anonymous, right? So I think, again, that's a really nice opportunity. One of the blessings about not being in person is maybe some of these questions that if you're in your high school auditorium, you don't want to raise your hand and ask some of the stuff that you can ask tonight. So so take advantage of that. And again, you'll get the recording tomorrow. You'll get the slide deck tomorrow. And of course, you'll have access to us whenever moving forward. So I guess without further ado, quickly, my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm one of the founders at College Aid Pro, just north of Boston here at our offices in Salem, Mass. I've been doing this. So the class 2024. And by the way, let's throw this in chat. What is the graduating class of your student, right? I think probably most of you folks are 2024, but either way, throw in the chat.
Go ahead and put that in the chat.
Yeah, let's see that, and where you at in the country. That's always fun for us to see because we're always very diverse geographically. So let us know where you are, and obviously we're seeing right away. You're all over the place as usual, which is great.
Yeah.
Peggy and I here are about 3,000 miles away, representing each of the coasts here. Virgin Islands, love it. So again, this will be my 19th season in guiding families through this process, and that's I love it. Right, I was saying it last night to Peg. I'm like, it's like class 2023, the roller coaster. It's not quite over, but we're just about at the finish line, and I'm already in line, getting ready to start this with you all and get on the class 2024 roller coaster. And if I have my way, I'll stay on this ride forever. So and because it's incredibly rewarding, right? You're going to do this amazing thing, send your kids to college, but it's unbelievably overwhelming too. And I think there's this extra dynamic, right? If you're a divorced household, separated household, if you're a single parent, there's just this extra layer here of challenges. And we welcome that, right? And that's probably the group to generalize here that we work with the most is folks somewhere in your bucket, because it's harder, but it's also where I think we can provide the most value, and hopefully we show that tonight. But that's what we're here to do. So whatever you do, just keep following along with us beyond tonight, certainly tonight, but beyond tonight. And I think that's kind of the best advice that I can give you in the short term here. Now I'll let the fairy godmother of financial aid herself, Peg Keough, introduce herself, and we'll get into the content.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, Matt, because we're getting questions already. These are always the fun ones when we have the questions ripping in during intro. So that's great. So you guys keep them coming. We'll do our best to answer all of them. So yeah, I'm Peg Keough. My background is in the financial area. So I was a financial advisor, really a planner at heart, financial planner at heart. And then I have twins. I've seen a few twins there. So boy-girl twins who are done with college. I'm a little bit older than you guys, just a little. And when they hit high school, did all this deep dive into all this stuff and realized how crazy it was. And at the time I thought, you know what, I could specialize in this area, this niche, and be even more impactful. So I started my own business in 2014 doing this. And then I joined CAP. I met the guys at CAP, the founders, a couple years later, and beta tested their software. And it was a foundation of my business for years. And joined CAP in 2021. I was ready to have a team again and focus on this kind of stuff that I really love doing instead of all the other stuff when you're a solo entrepreneur you have to do. So, and as I said, I've been where you are. I'm not divorced or separated, but I understand this process and the stresses, and that just adds another, I'm not going to say a layer of stress because it might not. I've worked with a lot of people that are divorced through the years, as Matt has. But it's just, there's opportunities there, and there's things for you guys that it's than a married family, right? Without a separation or a divorce, and how it works. So knowing that and how all those work, and some of the questions I'm already saying, hold tight, we're going to hit that in, about 40 minutes. So let's kick this off. What we're going to start with, and I'm going to whip through this, so it's going to be fast. We're just going to talk about financial aid, just in case anybody here, you're a newbie and you don't know the terminology. We just want to make sure that you get it. But for people that are really new, we are College Aid Pro. And so our mission truly is what's up here: to end the student debt crisis by empowering you to shop smarter for college. And the way you do that is by understanding financial aid. And then even more importantly, understanding where you fit as a family. And like I said, Shannon and Brennan, I had 2 kids, same age, same financials, but it was different. Even between your 2 kids, it can be different. So just understanding all that's very empowering for you to go through this process. So there we are. Everybody should have gotten an email, right, Matt? We sent that out, right? The email?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, earlier today. Matt will put this link in the chat real quick, the mycap.collegeaidpro.com. So if you didn't set up your free MyCap account, we strongly encourage you to do it. We're going to be in the software a little bit tonight. We're not doing a demo. We're not going to spend tons of time in there. We spend more time in other webinars. We use it as part of our educating. But tonight we'll be in there a little, but this will be a very valuable resource for you to use as you go through the process. So let's just talk about financial aid, as I said, super, super fast here. So basically, all these colleges are discounting their sticker price. They're not all doing it the same way, but for a given family at every school, there's pretty much a discount. They're on sale, however you want to think about it. And they do it in one of 3 ways. There's need-based grants, which the name kind of hints to. If you have financial need, you can get money from college endowments. So the institutional level, you can get them from the federal government in the form of Pell Grants, or you can get them from your state. So that's free money based on financial need.
Sorry, Peggy, I'm sorry to interrupt you already. I know.
Wow, this is a new record of interrupting.
I know, but believe me, I'm nervous. Okay, I very much hesitated over here, so I know I'm going to hear it, off camera. I'm going to hear it from you. But we got a couple of questions about the platform itself, and to kind of summarize the answers here. One of the main reasons we want you to create an account is and again, this is hopefully answering most of the questions we got around it, it's going to tell you which schools are going to require the information from both households if you're a 2-household family versus just yours, among other things. But I think that answers a lot of the questions that we got. Can we tell which schools are going to require the information from just my household versus from my ex's as well, and how does that work? We're going to explain it tonight, but it's all kind of baked into the platform for you. It takes the thinking out of it. So sorry, buddy.
All right. No, good call. Yeah. And that's going to be really clear to you in a few minutes. Okay. The second bucket here is more free money, more what we call gift aid. These are merit-based scholarships. So the flip side from the need-based, not based on your financials, based on your child. So grades, test scores, the typical, but it can be sports, music, leadership, whatever that college or university decides to do. The third bucket is loans and work study. Okay. So obviously loans need to be repaid. Work study, your child is working and gets a paycheck and you use it to pay for college. So these are the three ways that that sticker price, that cost of attendance can be discounted. And that's when another thing, just to talk about our platform, the CAP platform, is we're all about net price, because these costs of attendance, the tuition fees, room and board, books, transportation, and personal expenses have been going up for decades, as we all know, but they're irrelevant. And so that's what we point out to you right away when you're on your dashboard, and helping you see where you can get the discount. So how do you know if you're eligible for need-based aid? Very simple equation. They take that cost of attendance, they subtract what's up to this date been called an expected family contribution and is about to be called the student aid index. They take that number and that gets calculated from the financial aid forms, and they take the difference, and that's your need. So $80,000 school, $60,000 EFC, $20,000 of need. If you have an EFC over 80,000 or an SAI starting this coming year, you don't have need. So that's how that works. So if you might not have eligibility for need-based grants, so that discount bucket might be off the table. So real quick, how they calculate this, because you're going to see it on your dashboard, is they look at non-retirement assets of both the student and the parents, and they look at income. So you notice how I said non-retirement assets. So anything you have in a retirement account, 401ks, 403bs, both types of IRAs, that also beneficiary IRA we don't have on here, but Roth and traditional IRAs, pensions, that's all retirement. So that is not part of the equation. 529s that you have are part of the equation. Parent-owned 529s are a parent asset. Grandma's 529s that owns it, not even part of the equation. Real estate that's not in the primary home you live in is included, and real estate is your market value minus any liens, mortgage, HELOC. That's your equity. That's what's included. The home you live in is looked at about 300, mostly private schools, and you want to make sure you're valuing that home correctly. That's a different webinar. Just again, I'm whipping through this. It's just high level, so you guys kind of have an idea of how this goes. Now, when you are divorced or separated, we're going to get into this in a minute, certain parents are included depending on the school. So just keep that in mind. And if you have that question, just hold it, because we're going to hit it. And then if we don't do a good job, or you want to dig deeper, then, hit us up in Q&A on that. So that's the asset piece. The income piece, and the assets are current value. The income, on the other hand, is a 2-year look back. So this brings some interesting challenges if you are divorced now, but if you look up here, you see the 2-year look back. Most people said they have a class of 2024 child. So your base year, meaning the year you're going to be reporting on for financial aid forms this fall, is 2022. So you might be thinking, well, Peg, what the heck am I going to do? I was married filing jointly then. Now I'm separated. Now I'm full out divorced. It's a different scenario. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. Don't stress. And we're going to talk about that, because it's extremely common that people's lives are different, and it's an appeal opportunity, and there's a correct way to submit financial aid forms that we'll touch on tonight. And then we'll also touch on it in the fall when we go through our line by lines. But the parental income is the biggest driver. It's mostly based on adjusted gross income. There are some add-ins, add-ons, but that's the biggest driver. Student income is also looked at, but there's for the federal formula, which is most schools, kids can make over $7,000 and it's a wash annually in a tax year. So most kids don't make that. But for parents, if you make a sizable income, it's gonna be a big part of what's going to be your SAI when it gets calculated through the financial aid forms. Okay. So that's the income piece. Some of you might be looking at your dashboard saying, well, I fell in that category that Peg mentioned on the first slide, that my EFC is 100,000, and thank God there's no schools that cost $100,000 yet. So you don't have need. So that's going to be that merit scholarship play that I talked about, that second bucket. This is a great slide. You guys can review it. You're going to get the slides tomorrow, as Matt said. Matt usually spends 10 minutes on this slide, but we want to get into the meat of really helping you guys see the nuances of your family situation. So we're not gonna get into this too much, but just realize this is a great way to get 5-figure discounts, and you will be able to find these opportunities in your platform that you've set up. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do, Peg, is I'm going to address a question that I've got many times over as well here. And now's as good a time as any, just because I know this is probably what's front of mind for those of you that are asking it. I have an ex that is saying they're not contributing to any college expenses, or they don't have the ability to. Or I don't know where they are, or they're not going to be cooperative. We've got some variation of questions around each of these scenarios, right? And again, let me kind of plant the seed, and then we'll talk more specifically as we continue on here. But the long and the short of it is, colleges really don't assess whether, or care, to use a less, or to use, I guess, a more harsh word, whether parents are contributing or not, whether it's a 2-household family and both parents do, make a fine income. But we work with plenty of families that just say, hey, we think if our kids go to college, that's their responsibility. We're not contributing. That's fine, but the colleges don't care. Okay. And that goes regardless of kind of the dynamic of the household. That's kind of the harsh reality. They just collect the information and they plug it into the formula and say, hey, listen, if you want to come to our school, here's what it's going to cost. It's really none of our business who pays the bill. Like, for example, I especially if you're a divorced family, it's very likely that there's an agreement around who's going to pay for college, right? And maybe, for example, it's a third and a third and a third, that the parent 1 pays a third, parent 2 pays a third, and then the student pays a third, right? And sometimes it's 50-50, 100-0, whatever it happens to be. But it's kind of strange, I guess, but the colleges don't even look at that. And if you go to communicate that with them, their answer is going to be, that is none of our business. We're just going to collect the resources that you have. If we're a college that only looks at 1 household, we're just going to assess your eligibility based on that. If we're a college that collects 2 households, right, we're going to be looking at more information. But at the end of the day, we're just essentially going to give the student a bill and say, if you want to come here, this is what you have to pay. However you come up with that is none of our business, right? So again, it's not like if you're a family that, again, has that third breakdown, the colleges aren't going to say, okay, here's your bill, parent 1, here's your bill, parent 2, and here's your bill, student, right? They're just going to say, here's 100% of the bill, student, go figure it out with your parents, right? So again, I hopefully I'm not coming through too harsh here. That's just kind of that's the reality of how it works. Now, I also want to hover over this another minute here and talk about these families that I'm applying to schools that require the CSS profile, and they're telling me in order to be eligible for financial aid, I'm required to get the information from my ex. I have no idea where they are, or they are completely off the grid. They are completely uncooperative. There is nothing that I can do to get this information. And of course, that happens all the time, right? Peg and I deal with it many, many, many times over. We will continue to, and so do these colleges every single year. And for those colleges that require the information from both, requiring quotes, they require that information from the ex. If I'm describing your situation in some capacity where you have this ex that is not going to cooperate, you don't know where they are, et cetera, In most cases, you are not going to be punished for that. Your kid is not going to be punished for that. You just have to communicate it with the college to say, here's what's going on. I have no way of getting that information. And they make you go through a formal process. It is a little bit painful, to be honest, to qualify for something that's called the non-custodial waiver, which basically asks you to elaborate on your situation. They sit with it as a committee at each of these colleges, and then hopefully say, we hear you loud and clear. We get it. You have this, completely uncooperative X, and we're not going to punish you or your kid for it. And we'll just give you your financial aid based on your situation. So hopefully that's helpful to a lot of those questions, but it's also a good segue to this one. Well, how do we apply for financial aid? And the biggest takeaway, especially for I think families that are somewhere in most of you that are listening, right? It's especially important that as your list of colleges comes to fruition, you communicate directly with them to say, here's what's going on with our family. What do you need from us, and when do you need it? Because every college is different. So if you're applying to 10 colleges, you're going to find out that 4 of them only require the FAFSA. Easy peasy, just one household completes the FAFSA. 4 of them require the FAFSA plus the CSS profile. And of those 4, we need the CSS profile from both households, right? Okay, well, that's another layer there, right? And maybe the last 2 require the FAFSA and they have their own institutional application, right? They're like a Princeton University that they require the FAFSA. They don't use the CSS profile, but they have their own version of the CSS profile, and they need it from both households if we're a 2-household family. So the big takeaway there is you can't kind of sit back and expect these colleges to communicate with you and say, hey, we understand what's going on with your situation. This is what we need from you. We need it from just your household. We need it from both households. We're going to communicate correctly with both of them. You have to be proactive. And again, especially if you have a family dynamic that's has a couple other layers to it. Okay. And Peggy, you can probably go on the next slide here.
Yep.
So the FAFSA, right? That's the big buzzword. Again, we're going to talk about this in great detail as the season is truly upon us next fall, right? You're going to get these slides here. Now, initially, and as it's been previously, the FAFSA is available October 1st with all these massive changes that we're going to talk about that are happening this year. You class 2024 folks are the guinea pigs. They're kicking it down the road, and now they're telling us it's going to be ready in December, the FAFSA, right? Now, the CSS profile will still be available October 1st of the student's senior year. So again, you class 2024, you're still going to have that CSS profile ready on time. The FAFSA, they're saying they're delaying to December, but they're too nervous to kind of put an exact date on it yet. So again, we're going to walk you through the mechanics of the form itself when it becomes more timely a few months from now. Tonight, I just want to make sure that you're crystal clear on, well, who should be filling this out and which household, et cetera, because that's the harder part that, again, Peggy and I are going to make sure you're coached up on before you jump tonight. So you probably go on the next one here, Peg. So previously it was the parent, and historically up through the class 2023, the parent that completed the FAFSA or the household that completed the FAFSA, wherever the student slept the most, literally, right? They look at this 365-day calendar, wherever the student slept the most, that's what they consider to be the custodial household, and is that household that completes the FAFSA, right? It doesn't matter who claims the student as an exemption. It doesn't matter, who provides more financial support to the student. It's wherever they live. And if that parent, that biological parent, is remarried, well, that step parent is considered now a custodial parent. So it's their combined information that goes on the FAFSA. It's as if that other biological non-custodial parent doesn't exist. That's how it's always been done historically. But now we got this new change, and Peggy, you can probably skip to it here. And I think I hit that good enough. But as of now, and again, you all are the guinea pigs, class 2024, the parent that the biological parent or household that completes the FAFSA is whatever one provides the greater financial support to the student. Now, this is a tricky one, and we have a case study that I think is helpful to elaborate on this, because a lot of you probably hear this and go, well, I don't know, my ex pays child support at $1,000 a month, but I pay for the mortgage and I pay the groceries and I'm the one that gives the spending money, and on and on and on. So oftentimes it is a gray area, but the Department of Education, by kind of the letter of the law, so to speak, as of now, and again, for starting with you, class 2024 folks, they want the parent that provides the most financial support to be the one that completes the FAFSA, to be the one that is kind of the foundation in determining your eligibility for need-based financial aid. That's the rule change. I think it's going to add more pain than pleasure for a lot of families in some ways, in the sense that it's just this gray area. It's way less straightforward than where does the kid live the most, right? But I think you can use it to your advantage, okay? And I want you, and this is what I want to be one of the big takeaways for you all tonight, right? Because as we've been talking about this, and at first I'm just like, this is a disaster, full stop, this is a disaster. But then as we've talked about it and kind of been through a bunch of different hypotheticals and talked to a bunch of different colleges, we can use this to our advantage, okay? We can be smart about this. I talked about the fact that I'm sure this is resonating with a lot of you. Like, if I asked you point blank, who provides more financial support, I'm sure a lot of you would look at each other and go like, geez, if we really crunch the numbers, I'm not sure, right? Use that to your advantage. Make sure that the one of you that provides the most financial support to the student is the one with the lowest income, the least amount of assets, the one that is going to give you the most need-based financial aid eligibility, the biggest discounts for college. Be smart about this. Now, to be clear, I'm not telling you to be fraudulent. I'm not telling you to be disingenuous. I'm telling you to take advantage of the rule the way that it is currently constructed, right? Get on the same page about this so you can present the situation in a way that's going to give you the biggest discounts for colleges. So I'm actually ultimately, I've come kind of full circle, and I'm looking at this as a win now, based on this change. And Peggy, I'm sure you're getting bazillions of questions, but if you can go to the next slide and we'll kind of answer. And guys, we'll talk about how you can interface with us beyond tonight. We're not going to get to every question tonight, just because, let's see, you know, we've answered 28 already. We got 30 something or other already in the queue, and we just won't be able to keep up. But I promise you, we're not going anywhere, and we're going to talk about how to work with us on a more kind of intimate basis. And we're not going anywhere. Let's put it that way. So these colleges that require the
guys, please put your questions in the Q&A. Okay, I just popped that in, and I'm getting more questions. Or you can be anonymous, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I know a bunch of you joined after we started tonight, but one of the first things that we always say is please, please, please put all your questions in the Q&A, not the chat. That's what we can monitor. So if you're almost guaranteed to kind of get lost in the shuffle, if you put it in the chat, please put those questions in the Q&A. We appreciate that, because we want to get to as many of them as possible. So
let me just share one question, and since I'm due to interrupt you at least once. Basically, it doesn't matter who claims the child on the tax return. It's a great question. It's logical to think that you need to match stuff. That's one stress you don't have to have on your plate, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so just take that off. I just wanted to share that, so that I'm sure other people might be thinking the same thing. So
totally, again, it's like totally counterintuitive. Most folks would think like this is what's going to drive it. Nothing to do with anything. So the CSS profile is this financial aid application that a ton of these mostly private schools require, in the top, you know, the public Ivies, Michigan, UNC Chapel Hill, UVA, William and Mary. Well, I probably missed one or two, but you know, there's this very short list of public universities that also require the CSS profile. Most colleges that require the CSS profile require it from both households. So this one, it gets a little bit more complex. You won't see each other's information. So there is a firewall where you can complete your CSS profile, your ex completes their CSS profile. They both go to the colleges, but you don't see one another's. But obviously they're both going to be considered, right? Both households are going to be considered. So again, as you're building this list of colleges, and if you're a 2-household family, it's really important to know, well, which colleges are going to need the information from both of us versus just one of us, right? And a good kind of hint is that it's usually, if it's a CSS profile school, they're going to need the information from both of us, but that is by no means a fail safe, because there's plenty of exceptions. Yeah, and again, the CSS profile form in general is just way more comprehensive. They're considering and factoring home equity into the equation. If you're a business owner, they're going to make you completely, they want to look behind the curtain of your business. It's just a much more invasive, comprehensive form. And
yeah, and I'll pop ahead here, but just you see the word that we have the word separated everywhere. That's very intentional. So we've gotten a few questions. If you are separated, which means you are living in separate households, you don't have to be officially divorced. In the financial aid world, you can consider yourself divorced and you fall into that category. So you don't have to be officially divorced, but you do need to be in a separate home. Yep,
totally.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and then these are just a few examples of, because again, generally speaking, these really expensive private colleges, or again, public universities like University of Virginia that require the CSS profile, they can be really generous if we're eligible for need-based financial aid, but they require the information from both households. These are just a couple of exceptions, right? Gettysburg, Worcester, University of Virginia, Vanderbilt, University of Chicago, Santa Clara in California, RPI, amazing engineering school in New York. Are some examples of schools that can be really generous with need-based financial aid, require the CSS profile, but only require it from one household, right? I mean, Peg and I and everybody on our team have examples of, like, we almost feel guilty for how little families have paid to attend some of these schools because they're only looking at one household, right? It's irrelevant in their formula what the other household has in terms of income, resources, et cetera, but we're playing within the rules of the game, and we're just playing it the smart way. So something to keep in mind. So Peggy, let me kind of quickly go in and just show an example to hopefully bring this together for folks. So again, most of you have, and Peggy, you can put the link in the chat again for those of you that haven't. Most of you have already created your accounts, right? And you can see, we allow you to put in some specific schools so you can see what they're actually going to cost you, right? And staring you at the face front and center. And again, especially if you're a 2-household family or a single parent household, this is really powerful, because if you go onto any of the colleges' net price calculators, none of them, not one college in the country, accounts for divorced and separated families, right? It's a huge weakness, in our opinion, that is just not good enough. So we have that, right? So you can get a good idea. This is a divorced family, right, from my neck of the woods. And that's why there's this huge difference between the federal EFC that only looks at one household and the institutional EFC that, generally speaking, looks at both households. That's why we see this huge difference in kind of our starting point, right? Going back to the beginning of the presentation, that foundation of your EFC eligibility. Now, if we want to get a really good, let's do this just very quickly in chat. Throw out a couple of particular colleges that you guys want to see, right? That you want to take a look at, that you're going to apply to. It's the dream school. It's your alma mater. You might apply to. You're going to tour next week. Throw out some schools in the chat. Okay. Okay. So let's look at Temple University for starters. That's just one I saw here. So we can look at Temple, and we're going to project a cost here. So we're going to see the sticker price at 45. We're going to get a discount here. We can drill down further to look at the why. Okay. Well, I'm going to see, okay, I'm going to get a merit-based scholarship here, right? If we want to go another layer than that, we can click on this financial aid tab, for example, and it's going to tell us our EFC basis. If our EFC basis is federal, that tells us they're only looking at one household automatically. So any school that I want to see in the country, I can go see what's their EFC basis. Versus, let me just look at another one here. Okay, so let's look at MIT, right? So, and by the way, one of our teammates here, so actually 2 of our teammates, if you want to meet with anybody on a one-on-one basis on our team, you can do that. We'll talk about how. Ryan Callahan's the director of financial aid at Harvard Medical School. He used to be the director of financial aid at MIT, so he has an intimate knowledge of how MIT works. Josh DeMeo is currently the director of financial aid at MIT Sloan School of Management, so the business school there, but obviously very plugged in at MIT. So these are a couple of the folks that you can meet with one-on-one if you want to, and we'll talk about that at the end. But this is a college that is going to be looking at both households, right? Because we see that they have the consensus or institutional methodology, but they're unbelievably generous, right? Now, again, I'm telling you more than you need to know. Let the technology do the work for you. But hopefully that kind of gives you a hint of where you can find out kind of your source of truth to find out, are they going to be looking at both households, or are they going to be looking at just one? That's one way that you guys, and I think the most consolidated way that you can have access to that information to be clear on whose information are they going to be looking at.
Yeah, and when Matt was in there, that showing those two EFCs, that the FAFSA calculated federal EFC and the institutional. Remember, based on what we're sharing, that institutional EFC is going to have each one of the parents, the custodial parent and the non-custodial parent. So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of that, whereas the federal one does not. You just have one household. So as Matt said, if you're remarried, then you're going to have that spouse in there if you're the custodial household. Okay, so let me hop back in here. All right, let's keep going here. So let's talk about some nuts and bolts of how you're going to do this. A lot of class of 2024. So this is coming up in the fall. So as Matt said earlier, the CSS profile will go live October 1st, and just a little insider information, because I'm looking for it every year. It usually comes live a little early. Remember, you're going to be looking for the 24-25 application. The 23-24 is sitting there. You don't want to jump the gun and click on that and think you're getting ahead of the game, because that's the wrong year. So you're looking for the 24-25. Will definitely be live October 1. FAFSA December. We don't know if it's going to be the 1st. I guess that's wishful thinking on my part. So I'm sure you have a question, and I will, you know what? I'm going to go out of this real quick and go over, share a page that I have open. You're probably thinking, okay, well, how do I, in the software, you can see what schools require the CSS profile. That's very clear. But the next question is, all right, well, how do I know the schools that might not look at both parents? Now, there is no perfect uniform list, and I would be hesitant to share it, even if one was put in front of me, because the colleges can change how they do things, and they do. They do change. We've had schools in the last couple of years that just say, hey, we're not looking at home equity anymore. So that's a great change, but my point is they can make changes. This URL is on the slide that I just showed, so you will have it. But this is put out by College Board. College Board is the SAT, AP nonprofit. They also do the CSS profile. So when you go to this link, you'll see that they're listing all the schools that need the profile in some capacity. If you go over to this column, you see non-custodial parent CSS. If you go up here and you click, I want to see bunch them. I want to see all the schools that are a no, meaning they don't require that. Then you can scroll down and you can look at schools that don't require the non-custodial CSS. That doesn't mean that they definitely don't look at that parent, okay? I will tell you, and it's a couple years old, and I haven't called Oberlin in a couple years, but if you scroll down here to Oberlin, this is the column. It says no, they have their own form. Most of the time, this is going to be a great way for you to look and see, oh, they maybe don't look at the non-custodial parent, but you need to check with the college. Don't make that assumption and then realize, uh-oh, they do, okay? But this is a great place to start. So just wanted to give you a visual of that, and I probably should have made it a little bigger, but now I'm going off the page, so sorry about that, guys. Okay. So that's that. Let me go back to the slide deck, but that's what that link is for, and you'll be able to check that out at your leisure. So now let's talk about, I just can't see my slide because of all the Zoom stuff. So the submitting of this non-custodial CSS profile well, first, let me talk about submitting the regular one. I guess I jumped the gun a little here with my slide. So if you're the custodial parent, you're submitting the CSS profile with your child. Okay. That's how it works. Then they will ask for the contact information for the other parent, the other biological parent. And you should provide that, right? You can also tell your ex to go on and start this process on their own. You don't have to wait for the CSS profile or the college board to reach out. They will do that at some point, but I would just get it going so that you guys have time to get all this stuff done. That's the CSS profile, the regular one, or whatever you want to call it. The non-custodial one that the non-custodial parent's going to send, they both go to college board separately and privately. That one, the non-custodial parent's going to have to go to cssprofile.org, make sure you click sign into, as I said before, the 2425 app when it's live. And then that parent, if that's you, you're going to actually be creating an account. So you click create an account. The key thing at that point is when they ask for information, do not put your child's name in there. It seems logical because you're doing this for your child, but you need to put your parent information when you're creating your account. Okay, that's really important, causes a lot of confusion, and rightly so. So just keep that in mind. When you get into the actual CSS profile form, you need to be very aware of the sections, because there's going to be sections about the student and sections about you as the parent. So if you're in a student section, of course, you've got to share the information they're asking about your child. Then when you get to the parent section, same thing. Okay. And you know, when I was doing a little looking at College Board today, they actually do a pretty nice job of laying some stuff out. So if you want to get in there and really get in the weeds, they had a 22-minute video that I didn't watch, but they have some stuff. So I provided the link to that, so you can go check it out. But that's where we see a lot of, you know, confusion. So Matt talked about this pretty in depth earlier, and we've got, you know, a lot of questions, and again, rightly so. Like, what do I do if, you know, for the FAFSA too, right? But let's just focus on the CSS first. So if I have an uncooperative parent that doesn't want to submit this, or, you know, I've had situations, I had one this year where the dad is in France and he actually has no access to his money because of issues that he had, yada yada. So there's all different scenarios. So you have whatever your scenario is. That is why this waiver exists, and that's a link to the PDF of it. Again, you'll get this. You can Google it, but I'm giving you the link so you'll get it. These have to be sent. Unfortunately, it's a little laborious. They've got to be sent to each college, and each college is going to make their determination of if they're going to waive it. You know, Matt can chime in here too, but, you know, some colleges are more open than others to doing this. But you do have to submit it to each school. And I will just take a minute here just to talk about, I mean, I've worked with a lot of families in this situation. I've worked with families that they can sit in a room and they're friends now, and families that don't even want to be on the same Zoom, right? And everything in between. And I would just say, parent to parent, you know, it's none of our business, your dynamics, and you have the dynamics that you have. But if you can just remember your child is in the middle of this, one, right? And you love your child, but two, it's money, right? So if you can cooperate, that can be really beneficial potentially for both of your pocketbooks, which is, I would guess, is going to, everybody will be happy about that, right? So I know there's challenges and there's hard stuff that comes along with this, but if everybody can take a deep breath and kind of come together in the best way that you can around this, that's going to be best for all parties, you know, new spouses, everybody. So just my 2 cents on that, and hopefully.
And just to add to that, Peg, right? Because I've answered a bunch of questions on this in the last 10-15 minutes that I've been banging away in the background there, and I probably glossed over it too quickly, right? Because for some of you, that obviously that scenario doesn't exist, right? You've got an abusive ex-spouse, you have no idea where they are, any number of things, but this one of the options on the table is not coming together and getting on the same page here, right? And the long and the short of what I would tell you there, or the short of what I would tell you, is you're not going to be punished for that, and your kid's not going to be punished for that, right? You do have to go through some pain, because you really have to air your dirty laundry to these schools when you complete this non-custodial profile, and they're going to want to know all the gory details of, well, why can't you get that information from your ex, and did this and this happen, and you have to disclose that, right? And a lot of times they want a letter from a third party, so it is a nasty process. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be punished because your ex is not cooperative, you can't track them down, etc. So that's kind of my takeaway there, because I know that's a ton of you were asking that, like, I can't sleep at night because I have this ex that's not being cooperative, I can't track them down or whatever. I'm not saying you're not going to have to go through any pain. It's in an unpleasant process, but you're not going to be punished for it. And ultimately, the schools that are not being complete scumbags, excuse my language, basically, are going to say, we totally get it, we're not going to hold that against you, we're just going to give you financial aid based on you and your kid and your income and assets, and that's it. Right. So
yeah, and if you do, if there is anything where, as Matt said, there's emotional abuse, or it's just really not good for your child to be around their other biological parent, I mean, you gotta share that, and the colleges will get it. And yeah, they might ask for a counselor or some other third party, because unfortunately, just like in our society in general, there's bad actors everywhere. Most people are very good, very well intentioned, but there's bad actors. And so the colleges are always on the lookout for that as well. So if they ask for documentation of some sort, don't take it personally. They'll get it and say, okay, yeah, this family is a wonderful family, and we got our documentation, and they move forward with their decision. So, but it is just like in the financial aid appeal process, this is not a time to be shy and private. You have to share so that they understand your situation. It's just the bottom line. So, and it sounds yucky, but they've probably heard a lot of it before, just like therapists have heard when people go into therapy and they feel weird, they've heard it, right? So don't be shy. You want to make the best outcome for your family financially, and then even more importantly for your child, right? So that's the thing to keep in mind. So that's how that waiver process works. So as Matt said, I just kind of put together a case study just to give you, it just kind of helps with learning, right? To see it, because people will often think, oh, wow, I received this child support, so I guess I'm out of luck. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, here's a situation where the child basically lives with the dad almost all the time, only child. So I kind of looked at my budget a little bit, and then I thought, all right, annual utilities of $6,000, mortgage and escrow, I figured $4,000 a month with all that, right? And then I looked at athletic fees and just other costs, and 12,000 could very easily be quite low for certain families, right? So I looked at that, and what I did, I'll show you the results, and then I'll tell you, high level with the math. So here's mom. So obviously child doesn't spend as much time with mom, because basically lives with dad, but mom's paying the child support, and it's $3,000 a month, so $36,000 a year. That's it. It's like, that's what came through on their divorce. Here's your money. You want to do soccer, you want to do other stuff, that's on you. So basically, dad is providing this amount of support. And what I did here, just to get in the weeds a little, is I didn't just add all those numbers together, because you can look at them and see the math doesn't work. Thought, well, there's one child, and I didn't say in here, but I'm assuming dad's not remarried, right? So, hey, there's a roof over this kid's head, and they're paying the mortgage. In my mind, that's $24,000 to pay for that child for the year, right? So that's how I did the math. Obviously, fees for the child and food and other expenses for the kid, car insurance and all that, that's all theirs, right? Because that's an expense you have to have the child. So that's the $44,000. Mom's is pretty straightforward, 36. So you know what? dad submits the FAFSA here, right? So it's not just whoever pays child support, which I think where a lot of people are going to go immediately, and they're potentially not going to take the time. This is very not detailed what I did. You know, I kind of just threw in some stuff so you guys can kind of see how we want you to think about this. But it's well worth your time to get in the weeds on it, because as Matt said earlier, if you can be honest and you can really get the parent that's more advantageous from a financial aid standpoint to be that custodial parent and to submit the FAFSA, it could be worth, depending on your family, $1,000 a year or $10,000 a year or more, right? It could be huge depending on the school and your finances. So just keep that in mind. You know, some people aren't numbers people, and the thought of looking at a budget or spreadsheets, like that's just in my sweet spot, but it's worth it. And if you need some help, we can support you on that. If that's something, it could be well worth, you know, taking the time and working with somebody to do that. Okay, let's go here. All right, real quick. We would be remiss if we didn't just touch on this. The FAFSA changes that are coming up, which is why, as Matt was talking about, the FAFSA is going live in December and not October 1st per usual. So there's some changes. Again, you guys are the guinea pigs. The 24 year is the first year, 24, 25. If you have older kids, you're going to see these changes, and it might be a bit of a shock, and some things might be good. One of the best things about this is for low income people, they're going to get more money, and that's huge. That's wonderful, and that's a great thing. Higher Pell grants, easier to qualify for Pell. The FAFSA is going to go down to 1/3 of the questions that it is now, which is great, because I know this is a huge stressor for a lot of parents. Child support, which we were just talking about, is going to be considered an asset, which is assessed at a much lower value than income, which I talked about at the beginning. And then there's this concept in financial aid called untaxed income. These are add backs, like somebody wrote in the Q&A to me. So basically, you're looking at a adjusted gross income. And I said, well, mostly, but there's also add backs. So the government has decided the biggest add back that hurt people was when they were saving pre-tax in their retirement accounts, 401k.
And Peggy, before you go too far down your financial planning nerd, you know, rabbit hole, you know, gentle reminder that it's
okay. That's all I'll say about that. You know, keep saving for retirement. They will not be added back. One other thing is, if you have multiple kids in school, right now you get a 50% discount. That's going to go away unless we can get it overturned. Matt'll pop something in the chat. He did this, set up this petition when this first came out several years ago. Please share it, sign it, even if it's not applicable to you, share it with the masses. We can get 100,000 signatures. We're at about 70,000. We might get some visibility onto this. The rule makes no sense to us, at least. So that's just pay it forward, sign it, and share, please.
Yeah, and again, for some of you, if this thing goes through, the cost of college essentially doubles. So it's you have real skin in the game.
And these are for the FAFSA schools. The CSS schools will probably still reduce 30 to 40%, but that's a whole webinar in and of itself. Honestly, it is. Yep. We have one. So right. Here, I'll let you touch on this, Matt.
Yeah, and what we, you know, again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but it's an important seed to plant. You need to have this concept that once I get accepted into these colleges and I get a financial offer, I don't want to take that as a take it or leave it situation. Okay. You can, in most cases or in many cases, push back and do better, especially right there, because again, I'm sure each of you have had some extra challenges in this situation, right? And you got this stressful, overwhelming situation with some additional layers here, but there's some silver lining, right? I promise you, I can find a silver lining that translates to making these colleges more affordable for probably every single person on this call. And one of it is appealing, right? We are very, very good at going back to colleges and appealing for more money, especially in single parent households and divorced or separated households. And there's a method to that madness. And there is a way to do that in such a way that maximizes your odds. But I want to plant that seed, right? That's one of the takeaways I want you to have tonight, to be like, okay, we're in this divorce situation. When we get these offers from colleges, we have a higher likelihood to go back and do better, right? Just remember that, and we'll fill in the blanks for you as that time comes. But Peggy, if I could, let me
Sure.
share here to kind of talk next steps. And this is a good kind of segue, because we're getting a ton of questions going, well, how do we know which one should complete the FAFSA? Who provides the most financial support? Do the colleges decide that? Can we go on the FAFSA? Can we go on pro? Short answer is no, you need to decide that, or we need to decide that, right? If you work with us, that's something that we're going to say it should be this household. And here's how we can be strategic about it, right? But the short answer to that question is, it is, and I'll make sure that I put this link in the chat here as I walk through it, because I want to talk about next steps. What Peggy and I say every single night that we do this is, we didn't do our jobs if you don't continue to engage with us in some capacity. It doesn't matter what that is, but you have to, you have a North Star here. You have a shepherd. We've done this tens of thousands of times. We love advocating for families and kind of taking on this David versus Goliath role of these colleges and figuring out a way to make this affordable, right? And how you do that is by being unbelievably educated and empowered with that, and making great decisions. And there's tons of decisions to make throughout this process. So follow us, okay? If you are a DIYer and you know who you are, we got all the free support you can handle. Sign up for our YouTube channel, right? We have an unbelievably robust YouTube channel. If you don't, if you look something up in there and you don't find a great answer, if you don't find great content, write to us in support. We'll give you a free account, right? We'll pay you for that, and we'll have up that content within the week. Our Facebook group is monitored by our experts in real time. You can get answers during business hours during the week for any questions that you might have, right? We're super engaged in there. Follow along. Now, so again, you DIYers that are just okay with financial, with kind of our free resources, we got you covered. What I would recommend at a minimum here, especially for tonight, because again, for those of you that are live tonight, oftentimes we'll do free, or we'll do special significant discounts for our live audience only, right? You guys are going to get the recording and slide deck tomorrow, but you'll see that our coupons are expired. But what I would suggest you do at a minimum is that if you sign up, if you've created your account already, go to the top right-hand button, the top right-hand corner in your account. As a matter of fact, let me just share this quickly so you can see where to do it here. But go to this, you'll in the top right corner, you'll hit upgrade. Okay, it'll say, since this is already a paid account, it won't say talk to an operator. You'll hit upgrade. Okay. And once you do that, you select the Val Victorian option, okay, that says $299, but you put in this coupon code 20 tonight, you'll get $60 off, okay? That will get you an hour with one of our experts. It could be me, it could be Peg, it could be the director of financial aid at Harvard, at MIT. Anybody you meet with is going to be one of the best experts you're going to find in the world around this stuff. Plus, you'll get full access to our platform for a year, right? It's obviously, I'm biased here, guys. It's a no-brainer. Don't overthink this. It's going to be the easiest, lowest barrier that you can possibly have in terms of an investment in this, with what's at stake here. If you are somebody that is not a DIYer, right? I put the DIYers in these two groups, and you're just like, Jesus, take the wheel. Somebody take over. I don't have time to do this. I don't have the expertise to do this. I have a terrible relationship with my ex, and I just want a middleman or middle woman to be the intermediary in between us. You would consider one of these more comprehensive packages. Wake me up when it's over. Okay. Obviously it's more expensive, but you work with us one-on-one through the entire process. We do the FAFSA for you. We do the CSS profile for you. We do the non-custodial CSS profile for you. We are the point of contact for both parents, right? We do the—
I'll just say we guide you through that, right? You guys are reviewing it and hitting submit, okay?
Okay. Yes, Mom.
You need to be careful because the law is changing, buddy.
That's true. You're right.
We help you, and the heavy lifting is not on your plate, basically.
Right. We work with you to figure out how we're going to pay this bill, right? If this parent is paying this and this parent is paying that, how do we make that all come together? And ultimately, it's like, and this is something I say, I've worked with every dynamic you can possibly imagine. I promise I got war stories for days in this thing, but my talk track is always this. Listen, I work for your kid. I'm trying to have your kid just be focused on, let me finish my junior and senior year. Let me work my butt off and get excited and go off and get accepted into these colleges. And then hopefully we can, any of the challenges that are kind of with the family dynamics, we can help with that just by nature of being an unbiased third party that's an advocate for you guys trying to make this happen, right? But if obviously these are much bigger commitments and we have a financial aid package only where we just guide you, this is the one I say we're working with the parents for our financial aid package. Then there is just an admissions package. And this is usually one of our admissions experts working with really just the kid, obviously communicating with the parents, but the kid is the primary point of contact to keep them on track. And then there's this combo, right? Is it a huge investment? Of course. But when we talk about ROI and kind of like peace of mind and quality of life here, I think it's an unbelievable investment. And I'm incredibly confident that you'll thank yourselves, 12, 16 months from now, when we're at the finish line of this process, right? And that way you work with two experts. You have your admissions expert covering all the bells and whistles for the kids. And we can just kind of, I'll put this chat in the link here. But then we have also the financial aid expert that's working with parent or parents to make sure that we're nailing that, right? Who should be completing the FAFSA? Who should completing the profile? Actually completing these forms, making sure that we're on top of who needs what, who requires both forms, what are the private schools that don't look at the non-custodial, like take that guessing game out of it. Let us do that for you, right? This is what we are best at, especially with, two household families, single parent families. I would consider that a specialty of ours, right? We were talking about that internally today and over the last week or so ago. Like that's the easiest place for us to show a return on investment because there's just more opportunities to save money. So, I mean, that's, again, I know we're asking a lot, but tonight you're going to get, if you do this package, you get a pretty unbelievable deal. Like basically it's a $7,000 value for $4,500. Huge money. I know I'm not dismissing that. This is not for everybody, but it's essentially a $2,500 savings if you commit to that tonight, right? And again, all these other ones are $500 off here. I will say too, I know for these bigger price points, it's usually something you got to take longer to think about, and we're kind of holding your feet against the fire here. We're going up in price August 1st in each package for a number of reasons, but a lot of them, especially for these packages, are bandwidth for the class of 2024 is just about at its just about at the end here, right? We'll kind of close down for the class 2024 pretty soon. So that's why there's some urgency on our end as well, as our roster is approaching the end here. But again, at a minimum, do something, right? Follow along with the free resources. I would say beyond that, you have to at least book an hour with one of us and have access to all the bells and whistles of the software, right? And again, if you know that you're a family that like could benefit from all the help you can get, make this investment here, right? I know it's a lot of money, but when we're talking about $90,000 a year for college and all these other psychological components that go along with it, it's the best investment you can make. And again, we've been doing it for a long, long time, and we got an unbelievable team here. So I carried on, but I know
when did you say, Matt? When are the prices going up? You said August 1. Is that what you meant?
Sorry, no, that's July 1st. Sorry.
That's what I thought. That's what
July 1st. Okay. July 1st is when our prices go up. But these discounts are only for tonight, right? If you go to find us tomorrow, you're going to be paying the full rack rates here. And that's just, again, but every once in a while, because, our CEO, Kevin Degnan, Pay can attest to this. He always says, he calls me Carp. They call me Carp internally. Be like, Carp, you can't do, we're going out of business sales every day. Okay. So it's like, I try to pick my spots And again, I like to reward our live audiences and do some specific things. So that's kind of the deal, but you'll see these coupon codes do expire. Great question here. Is the package for 1 year or until the child goes into college? The package is good. If you buy one of our Wake Me When It's Over packages, that is good. And so for class 2025, this is like one of the best times you can start. It's good until your kid actually moves into the dorm. That's what we say. So you'll get more bang for your buck if you have a younger student, especially if it's that admissions piece where we're looking at, well, is your schedule on target? Do you have enough APs? Can you drop that? Can you drop that foreign language or not, based on what you want to do? So, again, you'll get a lot of value there. And then for subsequent years, once you're in college, if you want to stay on in that comprehensive manner, it's just $300 a year because it's more maintenance mode for us. Okay. Whereas if you just buy I just want an hour with an expert and I want to get on the platform, you get that hour anytime you want to use it, okay, over the next year. So you get 365 days to schedule that whenever you want, and all the bells and whistles of the platform. And if you want to stay on the platform beyond that, it's $5 a month, right? But you'll have access to that for a year. So again, you're not too early, even if you're an underclassman. Okay, and I think just making sure. Yeah, we work with a ton of student athletes. We got it. And Peg, you forgot to tell the crowd that I'm a former Division I scholarship athlete.
Yeah, that just didn't come up this time. Wow, that's crazy.
That is rare. But yeah, we work with a ton of student athletes. That makes up a meaningful percentage of our of our client base, I would say. So I think we got to kind of most of these guys. Again, Again, we're not going to get to all of them tonight, which is a great thing. It means we had an unbelievable crowd. We had over 140 questions tonight, and probably more if we include the chat and all of that. But really appreciate the engagement. That's all kind of Peggy and I can ask. And yeah, on our website. So again, you can go to look at the packages in this link that I am putting in the chat. And then if you go to our so this is in the chat where you can look at the questions. And then if you go onto our website, let me just do this in real time now. I think I should be able to pull this up here. If you go to products and services, packages and pricing, down below our kind of standard packages, you see our Wake Me When It's Over, and you can get some more details again there, but it's essentially going to lead you to the same place that I put you in the chat. We do not have our admissions packages listed online, just our financial aid package. We usually only do admissions stuff again for our live folks, just because we don't have the bandwidth to manage everybody from the World Wide Web. We have limited roster there.
So Matt, just to know, I don't know if you hit this because I was typing away here, but the admissions piece, because I'm not as familiar with that, that does include essay help, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, just to take a quick look at that, it's again, this is, helping you build that list, right? So that's a big collaboration part where we're working the financial and the cultural academic major fit, right? But then we have this variable of, well, who are we going to have to provide financial information for both households, right? They help you build this essay. So Brian Ford, he's read over 60,000 admissions applications for Boston University, for the UCs, for Bryant University. Dan Bizig, who's been doing this for 20 years, again, same deal. So these guys are unbelievable, right? We love having them as a resource. But yeah, they help these kids build the essay, redline it until we're ready to go. And again, Brian's literally still reads applications, so he knows what gets thrown out, what they should be looking for. It's like having a cheat code there, right? And they help them with the Common App, mock interviews, and just kind of keep them online, right? Make sure we are ahead of the curve. So, and I always say, like, this is something I would invest for, just so I didn't have to be the one whipping my kid. Right. Probably not a nice term. Right. But like, if someone I would rather have someone holding my daughter accountable than me is a nicer way to say it. That's why we say student accountability here. But anyways, I think that is a nice kind of intangible maybe it is tangible benefit to that piece as well. Yeah. So again, you guys have access to that. So obviously there's some urgency if you want to get in on these significant discounts. You got to commit to that tonight. If that's just not possible, it doesn't make sense for your household. We still have capacity for I don't think we're going to fill up through the summer. It's just our prices, you just pay a little bit more, right? But you'll have longer to think about it, type of deal, and probably will fill up, by the end of the summer for this, right? For the hours, that's essentially unlimited. You can buy an hour at any time, whenever, and that's not going away. I think, Peggy, these folks, yeah, so
just finishing my last question.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah,
one person, guys, we have office hours. So send me your questions. It would be paragraph and paragraph and paragraph, right? So remember, if you have some questions that are.
Oh, sorry, but we got a couple of these. Great question. They already paying for the MyCap premium, for the software premium. You can't upgrade to the Wake Me When It's Over package within the platform. You can only buy an hour within the platform. For that, to upgrade to that, you need to go to this link here and choose whichever option you want to upgrade to. And we will also refund you, credit you what you paid for the platform, right? So whatever you paid to get on our platform, will credit towards this. The amount, you'll have to get a refund, right? Because to get the deal, you got to book it tonight, and then when we onboard you, we'll give you the refund for whatever you paid to get on the platform initially. And yeah, it's full support through the SA process, not just the one there. And yeah, the combo deal will still be there tomorrow. You can sign up for it tomorrow. We're not gonna be at capacity for that tomorrow by any stretch. It's just it won't be the same discount as it will be tonight. So again, it's that's kind of the decision point for anybody that's thinking about that.
All right. Well, we went way over. So
we went way over. And
hanging out.
Brian's last name is Ford. Brian Ford is last name. Okay. All right. So, and sorry, Peggy, and you can dip off whenever I can answer these last questions about the services here that we're getting.
No, it's fine. I just
but the difference is for this price point, the lowest price point, we are only providing, and again, the rack rate there is essentially $3,000. We just provide that financial aid guidance, right? Or in scholarships, right? So we help you qualify for the most financial aid. We do the forms. We are hands-on with the appeals. We're helping you figure out how to pay the bill for all 4 years of college, right? So it's a financial focus. Not to say there's zero admissions, because again, when we help suggest schools for you, we're going to make sure that they align with what we know of your kid, right? So but it's really a financial focus. Whereas the admissions, it's just all about guidance again on the admissions front. That is the focus, right? We're not even really looking at the financial piece. We're just like, okay, what's the right fit for our kid culturally, academically, etc. Let's nail the essay, the Common App, the interviews, right? Keep these kids on track, but just the admissions. And then we have this combo, right? And again, in most cases, we're working with two different individuals here. Unless it's Dan Bizig, he's kind of the unicorn on our team that has 2 decades of experience on the financial and admission side of the fence, where he's kind of a one-man wizard. But anyways, it's where you're getting the expertise and the hand-holding through both the financial aid and admissions part of the process there, right? And it really had a significant discount, because at a standalone, those are whatever, $7,000, and it's $5,000 plus the discount if you do the combo. So again, huge price point, but also tremendous value. Okay. Sabrina Campbell, I'm driving, but I want this. Drive home as fast as you can, Sabrina. You have 3.5 hours.
Safely, of course.
Just speed or pull over at your next exit. But yeah, it's good till you have another 3.5 hours. And truthfully, Sabrina, if you're listening, if you don't make it tonight or you forget, write in tomorrow. I'm sure we can get you on there. The coupon will be expired, but write in, we'll remember you. You could say I was driving home and whatever, but we'll get you on there. Okay. Yeah, no, there's no way to contact us individually, Peg or I, outside of booking an hour. Unfortunately, again, we just don't have the Peg, is a better way to say it? We just have too many fans. Would that be an appropriate way to say it, right?
Yeah, I gotta shut off some sources of communication.
There you go. But but Pedro, you can just write into again, you can do I'm putting the link for our Wake Me packages for to make sure that you have the specifics on those and how to sign up. You can also, if you just say, I totally get if there's a percentage of you like, I want this, but I just am not comfortable making this type of a commitment tonight after seeing these guys on a webinar for an hour or whatever. I totally get it. Take the time to think about it, and you can write into our support team. It's support. I will put this in here to everybody. support@collegeaidpro.com. And we can put you in touch with somebody that can answer kind of particular questions, right? About if you feel like you have some unanswered questions that are not in our kind of sales collateral here, we can get you taken care of. But yeah, right into support@collegeaidpro.com. They can connect you with someone on our team to answer any follow-up questions that you might have. All right, Peggy, I think we earned it for tonight, didn't we?
Yeah, and thanks for hanging on.
Thanks for hanging on, guys. We really appreciate it. It's really, really engaged crowd, and I think, without knowing any of you individually, I think we have a special appreciation for this extra challenge, right? That you all might have to overcome as you navigate an already challenging process. So please continue to lean on us. We love showing people the right way to nail this thing. So
yep. Lots of deep breaths. You'll make it through.
That's right. All right, Peggy.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.